She was hungry, homeless, and alien. He gave her shelter, then everything changed. For most residents, it was a normal evening, shops closing, workers heading to small homes, and the hum of machines filling the air. But for Eli, the night was far from ordinary. Eli leaned over a control panel in his small workshop, his hands steady despite the long hours. The colony relied on engineers like him to keep the machinery running: life support, energy grids, communication towers. He wiped sweat from his brow, listening to the faint whirring of the equipment. A small spark of frustration ran through him as one of the power conduits flickered. Then he heard it, a soft scraping, barely audible over the hum of machines. He froze. Probably just a stray animal, he muttered to himself, but instinct told him otherwise. He grabbed a small flashlight and stepped outside, the door creaking behind him. The wind tugged at his coat, carrying with it a strange, faintly sweet smell he didn't recognize. And then he saw her. She crouched near a trash container, her small frame shivering. Her skin had a faint shimmer like moonlight on water, and her eyes, large and deep, reflected the colony lights in colors Eli couldn't name. She looked lost, scared, and hungry. "Hey," Eli said softly, raising his hands in a peaceful gesture. "Are you okay?" The figure flinched. She had no weapon, no visible sign of hostility, but her body tensed as if ready to flee at any moment. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was quiet, almost musical. I don't have anywhere." Eli's heart clenched. He had seen many hardships in the colony: poverty, hunger, loneliness, but something about her fragility and her strange aura stirred a protective instinct in him. "Come inside," he said gently. "I can give you something to eat. You don't have to be out here." For a moment she stared at him, studying him with intense curiosity. Then, as if making a careful decision, she nodded. Her movements were cautious but deliberate, almost cat-like. Eli noticed that every step she took seemed to disturb the air slightly, as if she wasn't entirely tied to the same gravity he was used to. Inside his small workshop, Eli cleared a chair near a small heater. "Sit," he said. "You must be cold." She hesitated but obeyed, perching lightly on the edge of the chair. Eli went to a cabinet and pulled out some nutrient packs and warm water. As he handed them to her, she took them with delicate, almost trembling hands. The way she ate, quick but careful, savoring every bite, made Eli realize just how hungry she was. "My name is Eli," he said after a moment. "What's yours?" The girl paused, her large eyes fixed on his. "Lyra," she whispered. The name sounded strange, soft, and melodic. I am far from home." Eli nodded, though he didn't ask the obvious question. He didn't need to know the details right now. She was here and she needed help. That was enough. "You're safe here," he assured her. "No one will hurt you." For a few minutes, the room was quiet except for the soft sound of Lyra eating. Eli studied her discreetly. She wasn't like any human he had seen. Her skin had a faint, pearlescent glow, and her eyes shifted colors ever so slightly with her emotions. Her fingers were slender, almost too long for her hands, and she moved with a grace that seemed otherworldly. "You're different," he said carefully, not wanting to offend her. Lyra looked at him, her eyes wide. I am not from here," she said simply. "I am alone." Eli's heart ached. He knew what it felt like to be alone in a vast world. "Then you're not alone now," he said. "I'll help you." She tilted her head, studying him as if trying to read his intent. After a long pause, she nodded. "Thank you." The night outside grew darker, but inside Eli's workshop there was warmth and quiet safety. Lyra drank slowly from the water cup he offered, her gaze wandering around the room. She seemed fascinated by the small human gadgets, tools, machines, blinking lights. She reached out a hand, letting it hover over the equipment without touching, as if sensing its energy. Eli noticed. "You feel things differently, don't you?" he asked. Lyra's eyes widened. "I can sense some things," she admitted quietly. "Not like you, but patterns, movements, energy." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Energy?" She nodded almost shyly. "Small things, small currents. I cannot control much, not yet." Eli smiled. Despite the strangeness of it all, he felt a spark of excitement. Humans had always been explorers, always curious, always willing to learn. And here was someone who was completely different, but intelligent, aware, and capable of learning. Perhaps together they could teach each other something new. "You should rest," Eli said. "It's late and you've had a long day." Lyra hesitated. "Sleep is safe?" "For you," he clarified. "Yes," she said slowly. "Then yes," he assured her. "There's a cot in the corner. It's not much, but it's dry and warm." Lyra moved carefully toward the cot, her movements still cautious, almost feline. She curled up, wrapping herself in a blanket Eli had offered, her eyes scanning the room one last time before finally closing. Eli watched her for a while, a mix of wonder and concern running through him. He had never encountered an alien before, let alone one so fragile, so intelligent, and so mysterious. What was her story? Where had she come from? And most importantly, could he protect her in a world that might not understand her? A sudden noise outside snapped him out of his thoughts, a faint scrape like metal against metal. Eli's heart skipped a beat. He moved to the window, peering into the dimly lit alley. Nothing. Just shadows and the wind. He shook his head. Just the wind, he muttered, though his gut told him otherwise. The colony had rules against unregistered aliens. If anyone discovered Lyra here, he refused to think about it. Not tonight. Eli returned to his workbench, checking systems and circuits as his mind continued to wander. Lyra was asleep now, her breathing soft and steady. He couldn't help but marvel at her. She seemed fragile, yet there was something in her eyes, a quiet strength, a hidden resilience. Perhaps she had survived worse than he could imagine. Hours passed, and the hum of machines filled the small workshop. The colony outside was quiet, save for the occasional distant chatter or mechanical whir. Eli finally allowed himself a moment to sit back, his hands clasped together, thinking about the unusual turn his evening had taken. He had helped many people in his life, but never anyone like Lyra. She was alien in every sense, appearance, abilities, origin, but there was also something deeply human about her. Perhaps that was what drew him to her, what made him want to protect her at all costs. As dawn approached, the first soft rays of light filtering through the dusty windows, Lyra stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, meeting Eli's gaze. There was a new confidence there, faint but noticeable. "Good morning," he said gently. "Sleep well?" Lyra nodded slowly. "I think so," Eli smiled. "I have something for you today, food and maybe a walk outside. The colony is quiet in the morning." Her eyes brightened slightly. "Outside?" she asked, curiosity breaking through her caution. "Yes," he said, "but we'll stay careful." "Not everyone understands people like you." Lyra's lips curved in a small smile. "I like learning about you humans," she admitted. "I have never seen such kindness." Eli felt warmth spread through him. Perhaps kindness was enough to bridge worlds. Perhaps it was enough to start a new journey for both of them. The sun rose over the colony, casting a golden glow on the buildings and the dusty streets. Eli and Lyra sat together in the quiet workshop, the hum of machines mingling with the distant sounds of waking life. Outside, the world continued as always, unaware that something extraordinary had quietly entered one small human home, and that, from this moment, nothing would ever be the same. And for the first time, Lyra felt a flicker of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, she had found a place where she could belong. The next morning, the colony hummed with life. People moved quickly between shops and workshops, carrying supplies, checking equipment, and exchanging greetings. The smell of freshly baked bread from the small bakery mixed with the faint ozone sent from the energy plants. It was a busy world, structured and predictable, a stark contrast to the nomadic life Lyra had known. Eli poured himself a cup of hot tea and glanced at Lyra, who was staring out the window with wide, curious eyes. Her skin caught the sunlight, giving it a faint shimmer, and her eyes, a mixture of green and gold, seemed to reflect every movement outside. "You've never seen a human colony before, have you?" Eli asked, trying to keep the tone casual. Lyra shook her head. "Not like this, not with so many humans together. My people, we move, always hide." Eli nodded, understanding the weight behind her words. "It must be hard," he said softly. "Always running, never having a place to call home." Lyra's small hands curled around the edge of the table. "It is lonely." For a long moment, the two of them sat in silence, listening to the distant chatter of the colony and the faint mechanical hums. Then Eli stood. "Come with me," he said. "I'll show you around, slowly." "Don't worry, I'll make sure you're safe." Her eyes widened, a mix of excitement and fear. "Safe," she repeated. "Yes," Eli assured her. "I'll protect you." Lyra hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Her small feet carried her lightly to the door. As they stepped outside, the sunlight warmed her skin, and she tilted her head to study everything, the buildings, the humans, the vehicles moving along the dusted paths. "This is incredible," she whispered. Eli smiled. "You'll get used to it, or at least you'll understand it." They walked slowly through the colony. Eli pointed out places she might need, shops, medical stations, communal areas. Lyra listened, absorbing every word, her eyes darting around constantly, noticing details humans might overlook. The way power flowed along cables, the subtle changes in the wind, even the faint vibrations of machinery through the ground. "You notice everything," Eli observed. Lyra looked at him. "I must," she said softly, "otherwise I would be lost." Her words struck him. Humans adapted with technology, creating machines to help them survive and thrive. Lyra's people relied on instinct, observation, and small abilities she had yet to fully understand. Both ways were different, yet both were survival. As they passed a small market, Eli offered her a few coins. "Try to buy something you like," he suggested. Lyra hesitated, then picked up a small fruit she had never seen before, a soft, round fruit with red skin. She turned it in her hands, inspecting it carefully. "Will it taste good?" Eli chuckled. "It will, trust me." She bit carefully, her eyes widening as the sweet juice touched her tongue. "It is delicious," she whispered, a small smile breaking across her face. Eli watched her, pleased. "See, humans have good things too." They continued through the colony, meeting some of Eli's friends and neighbors. Some greeted them warmly, others stared at Lyra, curiosity mixed with suspicion. Eli noticed but did not comment. He had promised to protect her, and he would not allow fear or prejudice to change that. As they walked, Lyra began asking questions about everything, about the colony's energy systems, the purpose of certain buildings, even why humans wore clothes in such strange designs. Eli answered patiently, explaining each detail as clearly as he could. "You humans, you build, you plan, you control things," Lyra said finally. "It is different from my people. We survive, we hide, we move with the winds." "That's not bad," Eli said. "It's just different. Humans adapt by changing their world. You adapt by understanding it. Both ways work." Lyra nodded slowly, processing his words. She had never thought of her people's way as a strength. Survival had always been a necessity, a burden. But Eli's words made her realize it was also a skill, something humans admired, even if they would never admit it. As they turned a corner, a small commotion caught their attention. A vendor was yelling at a young child who had accidentally knocked over a display of metal tools. Lyra's large eyes widened and she instinctively reached out, her hand hovering in the air. A faint shimmer of energy rippled around her fingertips, causing the tools to gently rise and settle back in place. Eli grabbed her wrist gently. "Careful," he whispered. "Not everyone knows and some might get scared." Lyra looked down, embarrassed. I didn't mean, I only wanted to help." "I know," Eli said softly, "but you have to learn when it's safe to use your abilities." She nodded, the color in her cheeks shifting slightly. "I will try." The rest of the morning passed quietly. Eli introduced Lyra to small, safe tasks, helping arrange supplies, checking minor equipment, and observing the humans in their routines. She learned quickly, picking up patterns and predicting movements before they happened. Eli was impressed. Her mind worked differently, yet efficiently. At noon, they stopped by a small cafe. Eli ordered 2 simple meals, nutrient pasta for him and something soft for Lyra. She ate slowly, studying the humans around her, noticing their habits, their gestures, their expressions. "Humans are interesting," she said quietly. "They are," Eli agreed. "Sometimes frustrating, sometimes kind, sometimes strange, but mostly we survive. And we care for those we call friends." Lyra's gaze softened. "Friends," she repeated. "I have never had many." Eli smiled gently. "Maybe that will change." As the day wore on, Lyra became more confident, exploring small areas of the colony under Eli's careful watch. She asked questions about human history, about their technology, and about the strange machines that powered their lives. Eli answered as best he could, amazed at how quickly she learned. "You are very clever," he said finally. Lyra tilted her head, her eyes meeting his. "I survive," she said simply. "Cleverness is necessary." Eli laughed softly. "Fair enough. Survival does require cleverness, doesn't it?" But not all moments were calm. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Eli noticed a group of colony workers glancing at them with suspicion. Whispers carried through the air, sharp enough for him to catch fragments. "Stranger, unregistered alien, danger." Eli's stomach tightened. He knew the colony had rules. Unregistered aliens were a serious concern. If anyone reported Lyra, it could mean trouble, authorities, fines, or worse, expulsion. He looked at Lyra, who was unaware of the growing tension. She was laughing quietly at something a street performer had done, completely absorbed in the moment. Eli felt a surge of protectiveness. No matter what, he would not let her face danger alone. She had trusted him. He would honor that trust. They headed back to his workshop as the first stars appeared in the sky. Lyra walked beside him, her small hand brushing against his briefly. It was a gesture of trust, simple yet profound. Eli felt a warmth in his chest he had not expected. Inside, he offered her some tea and a warm blanket. Lyra accepted quietly, settling near the heater. "Tomorrow," Eli said carefully, "I will show you more. We will explore safely, learn about the colony, and meet people who are kind." Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting both curiosity and hope. "I will try," she said softly. "I want to understand your world." Eli smiled. "And I want to understand yours." They sat together in quiet companionship, two beings from different worlds, sharing warmth and trust. Outside, the colony moved on, unaware of the small miracle happening in a quiet workshop, a fragile alien finding safety, and a human discovering a depth of empathy he had never known. As night deepened, Lyra drifted into sleep, her breathing steady and calm. Eli remained awake for a while, thinking of the day's events. He had seen fear, wonder, and curiosity in her eyes. He had felt the quiet strength beneath her fragility, and he knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. The colony outside might not understand her. Some might fear her, some might even try to hurt her. But Eli would ensure that she was safe. And maybe, just maybe, the colony would one day see her as he did, not as an outsider, but as someone remarkable, someone who could teach them as much as they could teach her. For now, it was enough that she was safe, warm, and beginning to trust him. That small trust, fragile as it was, felt like a spark, one that could grow into something extraordinary. And as Eli finally rested his head, he knew tomorrow would bring more challenges, more learning, and more surprises. But with Lyra by his side, he felt ready. Together, they would navigate this strange world, bridging the gap between human and alien, fear and understanding, loneliness and trust. The following morning, the colony seemed ordinary, but for Eli and Lyra, it carried a subtle tension. Eli had noticed the looks, the wary glances from some residents, the quiet whispers that followed them wherever they went. Lyra, still adjusting to human ways, was unaware of the growing suspicion. "Do you see them?" Eli asked quietly as they walked through a busy street. Lyra followed his gaze. A group of workers glanced repeatedly in their direction, their faces shadowed with concern. "They do not like me?" she asked, frowning. Eli shook his head. "Not because of you exactly. Humans are cautious of what they do not understand. Unregistered aliens are considered dangerous." She paused, absorbing the words. "Dangerous? I am not dangerous." "I know," Eli said firmly, "but humans often judge before they understand. That is why we must be careful." As they continued, Lyra's curiosity remained undimmed. She reached out to touch a strange, glowing device, and Eli caught her hand gently. "Wait," he whispered. "Don't touch it yet. You could hurt it or yourself." Lyra nodded reluctantly, a small frown on her face. I will try to learn slowly," Eli smiled. "That's all I ask." By mid-morning, they reached a small park in the colony, a rare open space filled with greenery, artificial but calming. Children played under the watchful eyes of their parents, laughter echoing across the area. Lyra's eyes lit up. "They play?" she asked, fascinated. Eli nodded. "Yes, humans need to play. It teaches them and it brings joy." Lyra crouched near a patch of soft grass, letting her fingers brush over it. "Grass, soft. It grows from the ground?" Eli chuckled. "Yes, it's a simple plant, but it feels nice. Humans enjoy it." For a few moments, they sat together quietly, observing the small joys of human life. But the peaceful moment shattered when a sudden commotion erupted near the park's entrance. A man in dark clothing pushed through the crowd with surprising force, his eyes scanning quickly. He carried no visible weapon, but there was a sharp intensity in his gaze. Eli's stomach clenched. "Who is that?" Lyra asked, tensing instinctively. Eli's face darkened. "I think trouble." The man moved with precision, ignoring the startled humans around him. He stopped abruptly, his gaze locking on Lyra. For the first time, she seemed to sense real danger. Her body stiffened, her breathing shallow. Eli stepped in front of her. "You need to stay calm," he whispered. "Whatever happens, stay close to me." The stranger approached, his voice calm but firm. "I'm looking for an unregistered alien," he said. "She has unusual abilities. I need to ensure she does not pose a threat." Lyra's eyes widened. She had never seen anyone like this, a human who seemed to know exactly what to look for, someone trained, someone dangerous. I am not dangerous, she said, her voice shaking. The man ignored her. Step aside, he commanded. I need to check. Eli squared his shoulders. She's under my protection, you do not touch her. The man's eyes flicked to Eli, then back to Lyra. You're putting yourself at risk, he said almost kindly, and this could end badly. I don't care, Eli said firmly. She stays with me. Lyra felt a warmth in her chest at Eli's words, a reassurance she had never known. But the stranger's presence triggered something deep inside her. Her body trembled slightly, and a faint glow appeared around her hands. Small objects nearby, pebbles, leaves, even a discarded cup, began to rise slowly into the air. Eli's eyes widened. Lyra, control it, he whispered urgently. The stranger's jaw tightened. So she does have abilities, he muttered under his breath. Interesting, very interesting. For a moment, Lyra froze, overwhelmed by both fear and instinct. Then, with Eli's calm guidance, she focused. The glow around her hands dimmed, and the objects slowly settled back onto the ground. She looked at Eli, her face pale. I did not mean, she whispered. Eli knelt beside her. I know you saved us both, but you must be careful. Humans fear what they cannot understand. The stranger studied them quietly, then nodded slowly. Perhaps this isn't the time. He backed away, disappearing into the crowd. Lyra exhaled shakily. He wanted to take me. Yes, Eli said softly, but you're safe now for a little while. We need to be more careful from now on. The encounter left a shadow over their day. Even as Lyra tried to understand the humans around her, she couldn't shake the feeling that danger was always close, waiting. Back at Eli's workshop, he set out small lights and sensors around the perimeter. We'll need to prepare, he explained. If anyone comes looking for you again, we'll need to know. Lyra watched him silently, awe and worry in her eyes. I have never stayed in one place so long, she admitted. I do not know if I am safe. You are safe with me, Eli said firmly. And together we'll make sure no one hurts you. You're not alone anymore. Her eyes shone with gratitude. I thank you. Over the next few days, Eli taught Lyra more about human life. They practiced simple routines, walking in public without drawing attention, understanding basic colony laws, and learning when and how to hide her abilities. Lyra absorbed everything quickly, her mind sharp and attentive. At the same time, she began to teach Eli small things about her world. She showed him how to sense energy patterns in the environment, how to predict small movements before they happened, and even how to remain almost invisible to certain detection devices, skills that fascinated Eli. You could teach the humans, Eli said one evening, impressed by her subtle abilities. Lyra shook her head. Humans, too rigid, too many rules, my people, we are free, but I want to learn, I want to understand you. Eli smiled. And I want to understand you. We can help each other. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Trust, understanding, and even a quiet affection began to bloom, two beings from different worlds, discovering common ground in kindness, curiosity, and shared experiences. But the colony remained a dangerous place for her. Eli knew it, and Lyra could feel it. Whispers followed her footsteps, curious eyes lingered too long, and the memory of the stranger haunted her thoughts. She realized that survival here would require more than just her abilities. It would require strategy, caution, and a partnership she had never expected. One evening, as they prepared a simple meal in the workshop, Eli looked at her carefully. Tomorrow, he said, we will go further into the colony. We will meet more people, friends who can help, but you must promise to stay close to me. No sudden movements, no displays of abilities unless it's necessary. Lyra nodded solemnly. I promise, I trust you. Eli felt a deep warmth at her words. Trust was rare, even among humans. That she had offered it to him so quickly made him determined to honor it. As they ate, the faint hum of the colony outside seemed less intimidating. They were together, and together they could face the unknown. Yet both of them knew that tomorrow might bring more danger, perhaps even the return of the stranger who had sought Lyra. Night fell, and the workshop was filled with soft shadows and warm light. Lyra curled up near the heater, thinking about the strange humans around her. They were unpredictable, sometimes frustrating, but also kind and inventive. She realized that perhaps humans could teach her something important. That survival was not just about hiding or escaping. It could also be about trust, friendship, and courage. Eli watched her, marveling at how quickly she had become part of his life. Her presence had already changed him, making him see his world through different eyes. Eyes that noticed small wonders, subtle energies, and the beauty of a being who had survived so much yet still carried hope. As the night deepened, a small movement caught Eli's attention near the window. A shadow slipped past the streetlights, moving with caution and purpose. His heart tightened. The stranger, or perhaps someone else, was watching. He did not wake Lyra. Instead, he quietly checked the locks, adjusted the sensors, and prepared for whatever might come next. Tonight, they had survived. Tomorrow, they would face new challenges. But Eli knew one thing with certainty: he would not let anyone harm her. Not ever. For Lyra, sleep came slowly, her mind replaying the day's events, the encounter, the strange humans, and the sense of safety she felt with Eli. She realized that she had never known protection, never known kindness without fear. And now, for the first time, she did. Outside, the colony slept uneasily, unaware that a small alien life had found refuge in a human home. And that together, she and Eli were preparing for a future that could change both their worlds. The colony was alive with activity as morning light spilled over the metal rooftops and dusted streets. For Eli and Lyra, it was a day that would test their courage and ingenuity. After the previous encounters with suspicious residents and the mysterious stranger, Eli knew they had to be extra careful. Yet he also knew that hiding indefinitely would not help Lyra adapt to life here. "Today," Eli said as they stepped outside, "we are going to practice moving through the colony safely, but we also need to learn how to protect ourselves if trouble finds us." Lyra's eyes widened with curiosity. "Protect ourselves? How?" Eli glanced around, ensuring no one was watching too closely. "Using your abilities carefully, and using my knowledge of the colony, together we can be strong." They began with small exercises. Eli pointed out safe paths, shadows to use for cover, and areas that were heavily monitored. Lyra moved with careful precision, testing the ground and sensing the subtle vibrations in the streets. She began to notice patterns, the timing of patrols, the flow of crowds, and even small energy shifts from human machinery. "You notice everything," Eli said, impressed. "I must," Lyra replied. "Otherwise I am vulnerable." Their practice continued through the morning, blending simple navigation with subtle demonstrations of her abilities. Lyra lifted small objects off the ground, creating gentle barriers and distractions while remaining unseen. She was learning to control her powers, and Eli was learning how to coordinate with her, predicting her movements and integrating them with his human knowledge. By midday, Eli decided it was time to introduce a more challenging scenario. "We'll practice a simulated threat," he said. "I will pretend to be an intruder. You will use your skills to protect us without causing harm." Lyra's large eyes narrowed. "Without causing harm, but I could do much more." "Exactly," Eli said firmly. "We don't want to attract attention or hurt anyone. This is about control, teamwork, and understanding." They began the exercise in a quiet section of the colony near storage buildings. Eli moved swiftly and silently, testing Lyra's reactions. At first, she hesitated, unsure how far she could go without being noticed. Then, slowly, she began to anticipate his moves, lifting objects to create subtle obstacles and using her energy to detect his position. "You're learning fast," Eli said quietly, a smile breaking through his concentration. "Soon we could face any real danger together." Lyra tilted her head. "Together," she repeated. "Yes," Eli said simply. "I trust you, and I think you trust me too." Lyra's cheeks tinted slightly. "I do." Their exercise was interrupted by a sudden shout from the nearby street. Eli's heart tightened. A small crowd had gathered around a commotion. Peering through the crowd, Eli spotted the familiar figure, the stranger from before. He was scanning the streets, clearly searching for Lyra. "Stay close," Eli whispered, "and remember what we practiced." Lyra nodded, her body tensing as her senses sharpened. The stranger moved carefully, unaware of the small human-alien team watching him. Eli guided Lyra behind cover, whispering instructions on how to remain unseen. She lifted a few loose objects, creating small shadows and diversions, her movements precise and silent. The stranger's eyes flicked briefly toward the disturbance, but he couldn't locate them. Lyra's heart pounded, but Eli's calm presence gave her confidence. She realized that together they could outthink anyone, even someone as skilled as this stranger. Finally, the stranger moved on, frustrated and unaware that the pair had been right under his nose. Lyra exhaled, the tension leaving her body. "We succeeded?" she asked softly. "Yes," Eli said, smiling. "We succeeded because we worked together. Human knowledge, your abilities, we are stronger as a team." For the rest of the afternoon, they practiced more subtle skills, listening for unusual sounds, predicting human patterns, and understanding the timing of colony patrols. Lyra's confidence grew. She began to trust not only her abilities, but also Eli's guidance. "Your mind is amazing," Eli said, watching her manipulate a small energy field to lift a stack of crates just enough to block a pathway temporarily. "I've never seen anything like it." Lyra looked at him, a faint smile forming. "I am learning because of you." Eli felt a warmth he could not explain. There was something extraordinary about this small alien being, not just her powers, but her courage, her curiosity, her resilience. She reminded him of what humans themselves were capable of when faced with impossible odds. As evening approached, Eli led Lyra to a quiet rooftop overlooking the colony. They watched the sun set, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink. Below, the streets bustled, and lights flickered on, giving the colony a calm, almost magical appearance. "You are brave," Lyra said softly. "Even humans are afraid, yet you help me." Eli shook his head. "Not brave, just compassionate. I've learned that protecting someone worth protecting is never wrong." Lyra's eyes reflected the sunset. "I do not know if I can repay you." "You already have," Eli said quietly. "By trusting me, by letting me help you, that's enough." Their quiet moment was interrupted by a soft beep from one of Eli's portable sensors. He frowned, checking the device. "Someone is approaching," he whispered. Lyra stiffened. "The stranger?" Eli shook his head. "No, closer. Someone from the colony, I think, possibly authorities." He grabbed her hand. "We need to move quickly but carefully." Using the skills they had practiced, they navigated through rooftops and back alleys, staying hidden from view. Lyra lifted small objects, diverting attention and masking their presence. Eli guided her with precision, and together they moved like shadows across the colony. Finally, they reached a hidden alley where they could rest. Lyra exhaled shakily. "I did not think we could escape so easily." Eli smiled. "Human ingenuity combined with your abilities, that's why we succeeded. Alone, either of us would have struggled." For a long moment they sat quietly, catching their breath. Lyra's gaze wandered over the rooftops, her mind racing with possibilities. "I never knew humans could be clever in so many ways. I thought you only survive with tools, machines, and rules." Eli chuckled softly. "We survive with intelligence, observation, and teamwork, and sometimes a little creativity, just like you." As night fell, they returned to the safety of Eli's workshop. Lyra curled up near the heater, exhausted but exhilarated. She had learned something important today. She could trust humans, at least some of them. And she had discovered the power of teamwork, how human ingenuity and alien potential could work together to overcome danger. Eli sat quietly at his workbench, thinking about the day's events. Lyra's abilities were incredible, but it was her courage and intelligence that impressed him most. He realized that the colony, for all its rules and routines, could learn from her just as much as she could learn from it. "Tomorrow," he whispered, "we'll continue to prepare. The colony may not understand her yet, but we will. And together, we'll be ready for anything." Lyra, half asleep, murmured softly, "Together." Eli smiled, feeling a sense of hope and determination he hadn't known in years. He knew the coming days would bring more challenges, perhaps even direct confrontation, but for the first time he felt ready. They were not alone. They were a team, and together, humans and alien, they could face anything. Outside, the colony's lights flickered in the night, unaware that a small alien life had found refuge and a partner in a human home. And that in the quiet corners of the settlement, human ingenuity and alien potential were quietly beginning to change everything. The sun rose over the colony, bathing the streets and buildings in warm, golden light. Birds chirped softly, blending with the hum of machinery and distant voices of waking humans. For Eli and Lyra, today felt different, tense, yet full of possibility. After weeks of careful preparation, training, and learning together, they were ready to face the colony openly, without hiding, and perhaps change the way humans saw aliens. "Are you ready?" Eli asked quietly, adjusting the straps of his utility bag. Lyra's large eyes met his, steady and confident. "I am ready, I trust you." Eli smiled, a warmth in his chest that made him feel lighter than he had in years. "Then let's go." They stepped out into the streets, moving calmly but with purpose. People glanced at them, some curious, some wary. Lyra walked beside Eli, keeping her posture natural but alert. Her small hands occasionally twitched, sensing energy currents in the environment, but she held control over her abilities with the skill she had learned from weeks of practice. Their first stop was the Colony Council, a tall building of polished metal and glass where humans made decisions and settled disputes. Eli had spoken to a few friendly officials beforehand, explaining the situation and Lyra's peaceful nature. Some were skeptical, but he hoped their combined presence today would demonstrate trust and cooperation. As they entered the council hall, a hush fell over the room. Officials and residents alike stared at Lyra, whispering under their breath. She felt the weight of their gaze, but she remained calm, holding Eli's hand briefly as a grounding point. "This is Lyra," Eli said confidently. "She is peaceful, intelligent, and curious. She has been living with me for some time. She wishes to integrate into our community." "I vouch for her." A senior council member, a tall woman with sharp eyes, stepped forward. "An unregistered alien in our colony is unusual," she said, "and some residents are concerned about her abilities. Can we trust her?" Lyra stepped forward slightly, her voice soft but clear. "I am not here to harm anyone. I only want to learn and to be safe." The council murmured among themselves. Some were skeptical, others seemed impressed by her calm, honest demeanor. Eli stepped closer. "We have trained together. I have witnessed her abilities, yes, but also her control, her intelligence, and her kindness. She is a being who can help us, not harm us." After a tense pause, the senior council member nodded. "Very well. We will allow her to stay under supervision. If she proves trustworthy, she may participate fully in our colony, but any misuse of abilities will have consequences." Lyra bowed her head slightly. "Thank you. I will do my best." With official permission, a wave of relief washed over her. She had feared rejection, but now she felt hope, a real chance to belong. Eli squeezed her hand gently, a silent acknowledgement of her courage. Over the next days, Lyra began participating in colony activities, always with Eli by her side. She helped with small engineering tasks, learned human customs more deeply, and even started teaching a few human subtle techniques to observe energy patterns, a skill that intrigued the scientists and engineers. "Your abilities are extraordinary," one young engineer said, watching her lift small tools effortlessly. "But your control is what impresses me more." Lyra smiled faintly. "I practice, and I learn from humans too." Eli watched the interactions quietly, proud of how far she had come. She had not only survived in a human environment, but had also started to influence it positively. Humans were beginning to see her not as a threat, but as someone remarkable, someone who could teach them new ways to observe and understand the universe. But peace did not last unchallenged. One afternoon, the familiar stranger appeared again at the edge of the colony, scanning the streets. Eli spotted him first, his posture tense. "He's back," Eli whispered. Lyra's eyes narrowed, her body tensing. "He wants to take me?" "Yes," Eli said. "But this time, we are ready." They moved swiftly and strategically, using rooftops, alleyways, and subtle diversions to approach the stranger without detection. Lyra lifted small objects, crates, tools, and even street signs, to create minor obstacles while Eli guided her through safe paths. Their teamwork was seamless, a blend of human ingenuity and alien potential. Finally, they confronted the stranger in a quiet courtyard. "You've returned," Eli said firmly. "Leave now. Lyra is under the colony's protection." The stranger's eyes narrowed. "I was curious, but I see now you are well prepared, impressive." He paused, then stepped back. "Very well, I will report what I have observed. But be warned, others may come." Lyra exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. "We survived." "Yes," Eli said, smiling. "Together, that is what matters." In the following weeks, Lyra's presence became a part of the colony's rhythm. Children were fascinated by her abilities. Scientists and engineers were inspired by her unique insights, and many residents came to admire her courage and intelligence. She learned to cook human food, enjoyed human games, and even laughed freely, a sound that brightened Eli's workshop more than any machinery ever could. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the colony in shades of orange and pink, Eli and Lyra sat together on the rooftop overlooking the settlement. "You have changed so much," Eli said quietly. "And yet, you've also changed the colony. People are beginning to see beyond fear." Lyra smiled faintly. "And you have taught me trust. I never had that before." Eli looked at her, feeling the depth of their bond. Humans and aliens, we can learn from each other. We can grow together. That is what I believe. She nodded, her eyes reflecting the sunset. I believe it too. I have hope now, and a place to belong. For Eli, the sense of accomplishment was profound. He had not only protected Lyra, but had also helped bridge two worlds, showing that courage, kindness, and understanding could overcome fear and suspicion. The colony was not perfect, but it had begun to embrace the possibility of coexistence. In the days that followed, Lyra continued to thrive. She joined scientific projects, assisted in engineering repairs, and even helped train small teams of humans in subtle observation techniques. Her influence was quiet but transformative, demonstrating that different perspectives could strengthen the colony. One afternoon, a young child approached her holding a small flower. For you, the child said shyly. Lyra knelt, taking the flower carefully. Thank you, she said softly. She placed it in a small container near her workbench, a symbol of the bond forming between humans and herself. Eli watched from nearby, his heart full. He realized that their journey had changed both of them. Lyra had found a home, and he had found someone who reminded him of the best parts of humanity: curiosity, empathy, courage, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. The colony, once cautious and fearful, now saw the value of openness, trust, and cooperation. Lyra's presence reminded them that differences were not threats. They were opportunities for growth, learning, and connection. As night fell, Eli and Lyra stood together on the rooftop once more, looking up at the stars that stretched endlessly above the colony. Lyra's eyes sparkled with wonder, reflecting countless possibilities. Do you think humans and aliens can truly live together? She asked softly. Eli smiled. I do. We've already started. All it takes is understanding, patience, and trust. And a willingness to see the best in each other. Lyra nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace. Then I will stay, and I will help others see what I have learned. Eli placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You have already done that, and together we will continue. The stars above shone brightly, a reminder that the universe was vast, full of mystery and life. And in one small colony, a human and an alien had proven that courage, empathy, and teamwork could transform fear into hope, danger into opportunity, and strangers into family. For Lyra, it was a new beginning, a life where she could explore, learn, and belong. For Eli, it was a revelation that even the smallest acts of kindness could change lives, bridge worlds, and create something extraordinary. And as the night deepened, the colony rested, safer and stronger than before, carrying within it the quiet legacy of an extraordinary friendship, a partnership that had turned fear into trust and difference into harmony. Together, human and alien, they had faced the unknown, overcome danger, and forged a future where hope and understanding could flourish. And the story of Lyra and Eli became a quiet inspiration, a reminder that even in a universe filled with challenges, compassion and courage could light the way.